I've been with RTR for, well, scary 30 years or more now, and it's been a pretty amazing experience, really. I do it for the love of the music. I love the people at RTR. I love talking to the listeners. I just think it's a good, fun thing to do. Keeps me young. Outside of RTR, I manage Joint Ventures, which is a cult-orientated shop, a lifestyle shop. Initially, I was asked to start a Women in Music program. So Drastic on Plastic, which is RTR's Women in Music show, started 30 years ago. It was 30 years old this January, which is pretty remarkable, really. And I was looking back, and I've probably done 30 years of radio with no more than 4 months off at any one point, which is which is quite a commitment. But I do enjoy doing it. And when I'm on those 4 months, I sort of tend to miss it and think it's now time for me to get back in there and do some programs. Usually RTR comes first. I usually manage my work around that. So when I have my commitment to Sunday morning, during that weekend before, if it's going to be a Sunday, I would give up predominantly most of Saturday to listen to music. It still takes me a lot of work. Every year, this is how come we do our radiothons. This is our prime source of income for the year. It's our listeners giving us back the love that we give them and keeping us going.
My name is Mike Tucak. By day, I'm a creative industries lawyer and I run a legal practice called Creative Legal. At RTR, at the moment, I do the Siamese Dream show, reminiscing about the 1990s. And in the past, I've done shows such as Out to Lunch, the occasional breakfast show, filling in for Genge, and I sat on the board for about 6 years back in the mid-2000s. I think RTR is a pretty unique voice in a place like Perth and probably also worldwide as far as allowing the creative side of a city, the musical side of a city to have a voice. And I'm always amazed, whenever I turn on RTR, there's always something new and fresh that I've never heard before. I think without it, I'd be devoid of good music. And I think that the way that it works with people who bring their own musical taste, selections and voice to the station it's unique and an incredibly valuable thing for a city like Perth. I probably have my work at RTR to blame for the kind of work I do at the moment, in that I was a pretty standard commercial lawyer when I first started working, and through my work at RTR or doing things on Homegrown, was talking a lot to local artists, local musicians who needed help with contracts and various things. And that sort of opened a door for me to do more work in the music industry in a legal sense. And so I think that's always continued, the crossover for me between what I do in the music industry or film and TV industry and what happens at RTR, being an area where those things are given a voice in Perth, is a natural fit. So there's not necessarily direct correlation, but the two worlds collide. Well, I think a station like RTR relies so heavily on its listeners, not just to keep the whole station working, but it relies on the subscriptions. If you want to keep a station like RTR on air, you need to subscribe. It's as simple as that. Do it.
My name is James Hall. I'm a lecturer here at Edith Cowan University, and I host a few things, Morning Magazine, Artbeart, Siamese Dream, and also take part in Fair Bump Play on a Monday morning. So here at ECU I teach in Media Cultural Studies and Public Relations. I've been teaching at the uni this is my 10th year, and it's good, and it sort of links in with the philosophy of RTR as well, that idea of getting ideas out there to people that might not have otherwise heard them or be aware of them, and sort of to enrich people mentally. RTR FM is pretty important to me, I think, largely because of the function that it performs. You know, it allows things to be talked about that aren't otherwise talked about, and it allows things that do get talked about to be talked about differently, and it's the only radio station that kind of plays good music, music that I like. So it is really important, because the media landscape in Australia is pretty bland, and there's not much diversity at all. It's one of the most concentrated media landscapes in the Western world. So in terms of diversity, RTR FM is a really important West Australian institution. I think if RTR FM lost its independence or ceased to be, it'd be really disappointing, because Perth's starting to come into its own. I think there's that old cliche of Perth being Dullsville that was prevalent 10, 15 years ago. We're really starting to shake that off, and I think things like Perth International Arts Festival and all these other things that are emerging and making Perth a fun place to be. RTR FM is a part of that, and part of that sort of movement away. So I think to remove that alternative voice and those alternative opportunities that people have in Perth, to remove that would make Perth, you know, to be dragging us back to the dark ages of Dullsville. And whilst, you know, some people probably wouldn't have a problem with that, you know, there's some people that do and should have a problem with it.
My name's Chris Wright. I work in a record shop in real life and DJ, and I do Black and Blue and Giant Steps. When the offer to work in a record store came up, I mean, I've worked in a few stores over the years. Yeah, it was just fulfilling a passion. When you get offered a job that is almost like play, I mean, it's almost like a hobby where you get paid for it. I had to take it up, I guess. I'm still here many years later. I'm still passionate and excited about new music all the time. I've got a pretty busy life. You know, I'd be getting home from work, walking some dogs, making sure some kids are fed, whatever, and I tend to plan shows, at least in my head, a few days ahead, and yeah, just try to organise my weekend around fitting in a show and, you know, family life, work commitments, whatever. So I'll be running out the door at some stage with a crate of records and heading up to the station. So there is a fair bit of planning and I suppose a bit of self-sacrifice, but I wouldn't do it unless I love doing it. So, you know, that's, if it was no longer fun and something I wanted to do and still had a passion for, I would have dropped it like a hot potato a long time ago. But the passion's still there. I'm still enthused about music and still want to spread the love.
Minaxi May, everyone calls me Max or Maxi. I am a visual artist. I work tutoring, community art, public art. I started off in burning down the house and now I present Black and Blue, Drastic on Plastic and Soulsides. The day in my life is pretty rushed. I'm always rushing around. So basically I'll get up, go straight to my computer, work on my PhD, go to uni, tutor a bit and then race around the rest of the week doing other community art jobs or making some art for some projects. So my days are quite erratic. It's not a structured day. I structure it according to what I need to get done. Before a show, I probably put in about 3 or 4 hours. So for a 2-hour show, preparation, it keeps me quite busy, yeah. Presenting a show is, you know, it's quite a commitment. And you want to present a really good show. You want to present some new music, some old music. And yeah, it's a commitment, but it's worth doing because it's great fun getting in the studio and presenting.
Well, I'm Daniel Cleary. I studied broadcasting and script writing. Outside of RTR as an income, I flip hamburgers at Grilled Matt Lawley. Well, I'm a presenter on the morning magazine program. I also help produce and sometimes do the news and fill in either on Breakfast with Bar or on other programs if need be. It's a funny thing, volunteering, because suddenly, you know, time is sort of money. That's sort of how we get brought up. So coming in, you know, 8-10 hours a week and doing volunteer work, you have to love what you do, especially when you're doing those 10 hours. And sometimes, you know, working late shifts in hospitality, you'd wake up early and read the news early in the morning. And I purely did that for the people and for what it stands for. It's independent, something a little bit different to provide to the community. I think today's a great example. I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning to prepare for my morning magazine program. That means research, that means writing questions, that means coming in early and doing pre-records. Then what happens is I do the program between 9 and noon, and then later on tonight I'll go to work at 4 o'clock and then work until 12 o'clock. Tomorrow I'll wake up early again and do some more volunteer work. It's a continuous thing of where I have to balance my work life, my personal life and the volunteer. And there are some sacrifices involved, but I mean, I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe it was worth it. Really, it's just to be involved in the community, to be involved in something that's special, in something that's different, something that's independent, you know, taking that part of the community and part of the airways and going, hey, you know that? yeah, that's mine. That's something in which I have onus on. That's something in which I've invested in, and now I'm reaping the benefits as I sit in my car or I sit at home listening to RTR FM.